During caregiving, you have difficult days, which are made more difficult by mansplainers. Ugh. And that's the thought behind this week's Caregiving Comfort. Hey everyone, I'm Denise Brown, and I write what I call Caregiving Comforts. I started writing them in 2003 when I challenged myself to take one word, apply it to the reality of caregiving, and then think about the word's meaning in a different way so that it felt hopeful. I continued to write these caregiving comforts as I cared for my parents, and I found them to be so soothing. Now I write them for you. So last week, I had the good fortune of actually connecting with two mansplainers, one on a Monday, one on a Tuesday. And I have my head in my hand because of the mansplainers. And you'll know this too. Oh, my heavens. You always encounter people who just think they know. They know more than you do. And it is incredibly irritating. And I suppose maybe it's a good week if we only connect with two mansplainers. But anyway, the first mansplainer was a financial planner who decided that everybody needs grief therapy. Now, I'm kind of generalizing a little bit about what he said, but pretty much anytime he talked about his work with clients involved telling them they needed grief therapy. Now, I don't dismiss the possibility of grief therapy being appropriate for many of us. However, to decide that all of us need it might be going a little bit too far. In fact, he would tell clients who reached out to him after a family member's death to put through financial planning and think through asset allocation and what to do with the assets before he would start working with them. He would say to them, you have to complete grief therapy first, and then we could talk about the money. And honestly, if I was able to not have my mouth open with my jaw dropped to the floor when he said that, good on me, because like who is he to say that before anybody can start thinking through financial planning, they have to go through grief therapy? Like, what? I mean, and to withhold support around financial planning until someone completes grief therapy seemed to be adding to someone's grief. Just help them. Give them a resource. As I continue to help you with financial planning, here's a couple resources, including grief therapy, but do not withhold the help they've reached out to receive until you decide they're ready. Oh, just very frustrating. And then the second one lectured me about the work she's been doing for a year, which I've been doing for 35 years. Yeah. Okay. So, what's so interesting is that it's a man and a woman. So, I talk about this in what I'm going to read to you about what I wrote, that mansplaining is the term, but it's not gender specific. So, my experience with the mansplainers last week inspired this week's Caregiving Comfort. And heck, I hope none of us have mansplainers this week. Let this be the week without mansplainers. Let this be the week we get a break from mansplainers. Okay, I just took a little bit of water. Here we go. Here's the Caregiving Comfort I wrote for you this week about mansplainers. You know more than others. You know more on a much deeper level than others. Yet those others will lecture. They'll tell you less than what you need to know because, well, they know less. You know more. That mansplaining will test your patience, drain your energy, and lose your faith in humanity. It's that awful of an experience. I appreciate that the term mansplaining can be misleading. It's not about gender, but about the person who believes they know more about your life, which you live every minute of every day, and they only visit for a few minutes once in a while, than you do. How do you cope when you see the mansplaining red flag? You see it coming because the words give it away. Words like, you know what you should do? Words like, I read a headline about what you should start doing to solve that problem. Words like, my cousin's best friend's brother's cousin told me how you should resolve this. How do you take a detour when the red flags wave? When you can, simply excuse yourself. No need to apologize or explain. You can use your time in much more productive ways. Leave to be productive. Sometimes you can't leave. When you have to stay during a mansplaining session, tune out the offender and then change the station. Tell yourself what's helpful to hear. Listen to your own inner wisdom. Other times you can't leave, and the mansplaining is just too loud to silence. Feel free to interrupt with a calm smile and simply say, that doesn't work for us. I appreciate the concern. You know best. It's okay to put the mansplainers in their place, which means you simply leave them behind. You can keep going. I'd love for you to share a recent situation you had with a mansplainer, and I'd love to know how you managed it. And if this content resonated with you, hit like. And if you like what we're doing, hit subscribe so you receive all our future episodes. Thanks so much for all you do. Thanks for listening. I'm Denise Brown.